Hello, this is Francesca Vigliani from Cloud Academy. It's so nice to see so many of you connected today. I see that you're connected from all over the world. How exciting. Thank you so much for setting aside part of your day to follow this session. We're super excited to have you join us for this webinar. We're going to talk about some of our most popular features and also introduce some new ones. Just wanted to remind you that at the end of this webinar, we will hold a Q&A. So if you have any questions throughout the session, please just pop them in the chat box and we will save them for later. So, new Cloud Academy platform features. I don't want to spoil anything, so without further ado, let me hand it over to Stefano Cairi, our product director, who will take you through all of the latest news from our platform.
Hey guys, thank you Francesca for the introduction. As Francesca and a lot of people at Cloud Academy know, I really love building Cloud Academy, and I joined the company more than 2 years ago because I feel it had so much potential and there was such an underserved need. And I'm actually super excited to run you through the things that we've released in the past few months, and also what we're going to release over the next couple months. It's something that I spend days and nights thinking about, and I love to tell you more about. So without further ado, I think I can hop into just a quick second about what we actually love doing and why we do it. And there are a lot of people that are not enterprise customers yet on this call, so I would love to just give them a sense of what we do. So our vision is to build one platform to manage tech training outcomes. Okay, we want to be the place where you can confidently upskill your team for any big project. Okay, and where you can answer the question, is my team ready, with confidence. Okay. So how are we going to do that this year is to focus on increasing the skill growth rate of your teams. We've learned through conversation with customers that that skill growth is really the true measure of results. We have a technology that measures skills very, very well, from the nitty-gritty, how well can you use Amazon EBS, to how well can you do operations in a very effective way. So there are a couple things that we want to focus on this year. So the first one is just simplifying deployment of customized training at scale. Okay, so simplifying deployment is relatively straightforward, but what do I mean by customized training? Is training that you have customized to your company's technology stack, and I'll tell you more about how we make it very easy to do so during the deck. And number two, just making sure that end users have a fantastic experience learning in our product, and that they have state-of-the-art tools where they can focus their time on learning and not on setting up stuff or trying to figure out if they really understood something or not. So a big part of our focus is just making the end user learning experience a pleasure. All right, again, because a lot of the people on this webinar have not used our enterprise feature set, here's a quick reminder of how our platform works. Don't worry, I'm not going to describe each one of these because you would most likely fall asleep by the time I'm halfway through it. I will, however, point out a few things that will help you follow the webinar. So our learning model really revolves around three things: assess, train, and evaluate. Okay. So assess is done through skill assessment, which is a very effective way to baseline user skills on different platforms and technologies. Okay. Then the train component is managed by the feature named training plans. Okay. Training plans let you assign, manage, and measure structure cloud training at scale. Okay. So you can take any subject, any role-based training plans that we have, customize it to your technology stack, and then assign it out. And that makes it 4 to 10 times more likely that people will get the training done. And I think the last piece I'll mention is evaluating. Okay, I think I've talked about skill profiles a bit, but it's basically the visualization of your team's actual skills. Okay, and skill profiles get affected whenever an end user does a lab, a quiz, or an exam. So that was a lot. So hopefully you digested that. A couple more things I'll point out before moving on.
Yeah, exactly. I wanted to add something
please.
in regards to content engine. So in our experience, we see that many people, many customers are really impressed by this tool because it really allows you to mix important information from their own companies with the Cloud Academy training. And that means that it's a powerful tool, for example, to onboard a new resource because you can add into that learning path everything that the new person needs to be aware of to work in that company and also acquire all of the knowledge that will allow them to do that specific job. So very excited that we'll be seeing this.
Yep. I'll demo a few features for Content Engine. I think it has been surprisingly successful. We've heard it as a need from customers probably a couple years ago, and we just built like a very basic prototype, and people have been using it quite a lot. And I think to Francesca's point, it's just because if you put your company's context around training, it just becomes that much more effective. And finally, just a quick definition of what a hands-on lab is. Hands-on labs are the quickest path to real-world expertise. Okay, basically in Cloud Academy, an end user can start a preloaded scenario with multiple virtual machines, multiple services in seconds, and they can try their hands on an actual infrastructure that is hosted on our instance at no extra cost to you. Right? We'll demo these, but just think about the complexity of building a hands-on labs inside your company right now. It would take probably weeks of planning and someone to execute on it. And we have hundreds of hands-on labs ready that can be started up in seconds. All right, so hopping onto the feature set. So the first one is hands-on labs challenges. So these are a special version of hands-on labs that essentially give the user a little bit of context about the situation, and then ask them to do anything from troubleshooting a faulty infrastructure to I'll show you a quick one now, hopping into a couple of VMs and connecting them to each other. Okay, and as you would imagine, the ability to do this is very predictive of the end user's ability to perform in his job, and so it will affect skill profiles greatly if they can complete that successfully.
And this is actually a fun feature because you can not only use it for your job, so for work purposes, but you can also challenge your friends, see who will finish and master the challenge first. So something to think of.
Yeah, this is a really good point. So let me hop into one. And so here I just searched for Azure Challenge just quickly before the meeting. This is just our library. So I can click this labs challenge. And so this is the description. And we usually define the intended audience. And those are just labs. So you can add them to a learning path, or you can find them within a learning path to test skills. So just to give you a sense of what this looks like, I'm going to start it. And so our system in the backend is going to start the couple of Azure virtual machines for this. And then we're going to see a few steps that we really cannot do in an automated fashion for you guys. So here's the lab data, here's the bridge connection, because we're firewalled here and we need to work on it, we get around it, get through it. And so, you can start the basic experience. You open the console, you sign in, you essentially finish deploying the environment, which is something that we can't prepare for you because there are no APIs for this. And then, step 5 is essentially the difficult thing that you need to get through. So we're asking you to essentially connect these two VMs together and to configure the network so that they can actually ping each other on private network addresses, okay? And then once you've done that, you can click Start Check, okay? And once you click Start Check, the system will verify that you will run a routine to verify that you've actually configured this correctly. So this gives you quite a bit of latitude as to how you can accomplish that result, but it's actually it's actually really, really good at predicting how good you are with networking. So I'm not going to go through it because it takes about 30 minutes to do this, but it's just one of the ways to, challenge your team, give them something fun, something exciting to do where they can actually prove their skills and then actually get a report on how effective they are at this.
Yeah, it's really a great way to engage your teams.
All right, so another exciting feature is training plan objectives. This is a very simple and yet very effective feature that we've decided to develop after we talk to customers. So as I mentioned before, training plans are a way to assign, manage, and measure structure training at scale, okay? And we offer a very easy feature to make sure that you can contextualize training and connect it to your company's internal objectives. Oftentimes, especially in Fortune 500, we get the feedback, hey, we've assigned training to people, but it's very unclear why they should be training on that. And someone else was supposed to communicate this, but they didn't. And so what ends up happening is that we just built a feature inside training plans, right? So that whenever they open a training plan, your teams can see exactly what they are, why they're training on something.
Yeah, which is an excellent tool to motivate them, because oftentimes, or at least what I've seen in the past, when people train, they always see it a little bit as a burden because they're already at work.
Yep.
And when you know that you actually are going to contribute further to your company and to your team because of the knowledge that you've acquired, then that's exciting. So
yeah. And so I'm going to show you how training plans works, and you'll get a sense of why they are so successful. So I'm going to assign some security training to our fictitious internal audit team. So I'm going to get some AWS security work and some GDPR work to this team. These are the two learning paths. This is more than 20, it's like about 28 hours of work. And on average, it takes 45-7 working days. You can clone this template and customize it very easy. Auto-remove courses, auto-remove learning paths is very easy. But just for our example, here are all the teams that I can assign training plans to. Let me find the internal audit team. So I'm going to assign it to everyone, including myself. This is our demo Acme demo environment, and I'm actually Byron Garrett in here. And then, I can confirm and select the due date. So this is one of the key features of training plans. So I can select how many hours a week the team is going to work on this, okay? And as I do that, we automatically adjust the due date, okay? And we give you a sense of how many working days are required to finish this, okay? So let's say that we say 4 hours a week. You can fine tune the due date here if you want to. And on the right side here, I can provide the needed context, the why to my team. And this has been really, really effective, especially in large organizations, in Fortune 500 companies, in making sure that everyone knows why they're doing something. So let me give you an example of this. October. Did I misspell anything? Nope. So I'll review the training plan. I'm one of the team managers, so I'll confirm and I'll assign that. And as you can see, the training plan is now here. It's live. Of course, there's no progress. I just assigned it. Here's the due date. We're all set. So I'm one of the people in this training plan. I assigned it to myself too. I'm Byron Garrett here. So if I go on my dashboard, you'll see that the first thing that I have is actually my live training plan with the training plan objectives here, right? The context necessary for me to know why I should be working on this, and every person on my team is going to see this. And on the right side, we like gamification. We have quite a few gamification feature. You can see the leaderboard. Right now it's empty, and as people get their email notification and start hopping on the training plan, it will start becoming more more of a competition.
Do we want to tell them what happens to those that fall behind with their training?
Oh yeah. So when you assign training plans, you have an option of enabling what we call automatic nudges. So those are a favorite of mine, and we actually use them internally when we do trainings. So if someone falls significantly behind on their schedule, they actually get like a nice, a really like nice, well done email from your email address that the platform send automatically. So essentially, we want to be your external brain for training, and our customers love that feature. They don't have to, if you have a training plan with like 50 to 100 people, you don't have to watch it all the time. You can just look at your weekly email. If anyone falls behind, they get up to 3 emails over the course of the training plan that nudge them along. And if you really want to, you can also go and manually nudge them yourself. I can go here and nudge Gabe, and in this case he has not started, so the platform is intelligent enough to say to compose an email. You can edit the email, have your signature, and then send it to the user. So we do this automatically. You can also take over and do it manually. So that's about it for this feature. What else? Oh, right, labs and exam cloning in Content Engine. So
this is so gonna optimize your workload in setting up things, but I'll let Stefano tell you all about it.
Yeah, so this one was one of the top requests from our customers early this year. As I mentioned, Content Engine is essentially the fastest way to adapt our content to your company's technology stack. And so cloning our content and editing that is one of the fastest way to do it. Okay, and part of the content that's very difficult to reproduce is actually labs, right? Just because they require such advanced technical skills. So here's how you can actually take an existing lab, modify it, and clone it and have it ready for your team in minutes. So let's create. This is Content Engine. I think you've seen this interface. You're pretty familiar with this. So we're going to clone a lab. I'm going to create a lab for Amazon Web Services. So instead of going from scratch, which will require days of work, probably I can just clone an existing lab. So I'll just grab like an S3 lab from all our labs. All of our labs are available. So let's go for this. Complete selection. At this point, the system will reload and pre-configure the lab with the title, the description, and the steps. And these steps include all the instructions. We already preloaded the backend here.
A quick question, Stefano. How many steps should we include?
There's no firm rule. Usually, the more steps you add, the longer the lab is. And so, these labs, I think initially was 45 minutes. You can set the length over 75 minutes. You don't want to go over an hour and a half unless you're doing specific days for training. Like we have some customers that say, okay, Wednesday morning, 9 to 12 is training time, and everyone has that blocked on their calendar. We recommend that, but if people are training on their own time and finding blocks of time during their calendar, it's hard to have 2 hours of uninterrupted time. So just to show you how easy this is, let's add a couple steps here. And let's say that I want to make sure that my people are able to use S3. So I'm just going to go and create an S3 bucket, upload a file here, and then delete an S3 bucket. Okay. So pretty basic stuff. And then I'm going to create one for a static website, which is slightly different. And then add a cloud from distribution so that effectively I have a CDN in front of it. Okay, so, and now we'll call it using S3 and configuring a static website. Okay, so, it's pretty much it. The system takes care of the rest.
Yeah,
Okay.
it just took us a couple of minutes. So
Yep. So maybe we'll make this like 90 minutes at this point. The categories are the same. We're touching the same skills. I don't think we need to change the cover. Provisioning template. Oh yeah, I need to save it. Okay. Provisioning template is the same, and so that's pretty much it. I can publish this. When I go back to my labs, it will appear as a published lab. And so I can add it to a learning path. I can put it in a training plan, and it just took me 5 minutes to make a significant change to something that was professionally built by us.
exactly. By the way, just a reminder for our audience that if you have any questions, you can just pop them in the chat box and we'll answer them at the end of the webinar.
All right, thank you, Francesca, and please keep the question coming. So moving on, as you know, a big part of being an enterprise product and operating within the enterprise is having, on the one hand, some integrations, and on the other hand, APIs. Whenever those integrations, the connectors haven't been built yet. And so a big part of this for us has been just making our initial integrations and API available to everyone. We've built this, we've released this, I think, a couple months ago. And so it looks very simple, but it basically allows you to go and configure the integrations like SSO, Okta. In a couple of clicks, you can hop into the Okta marketplace directly here and get that set up in minutes. And then we also made our private APIs available. Okay, so if you have an enterprise account, you can just generate API keys, and you can view our API documentation. So our the API documentation is in Swagger, which is also super convenient. So you can see our LMS API here. It's like very simple but very effective in getting stuff out of the system, and it's just one of the ways that we try to make deployment easy and have everything centralized in one place. So that if you need to, get this ready and deployed in a few days, you don't have to like run around looking for documentation. But besides that, we have customers with thousands of seats, and so one of the upcoming features that we're going to have released, I think I can commit to saying that this will be out in less than 3 weeks, is actually a user and team API. Okay, this is a simple CRUD API for managing users and team at scale. We already have SSO, which does most of the job, but when you have 1,000 users, just managing, people moving from one division to another, or people moving within different teams becomes pretty painful. And so we've just we're completing our API, and it will be available to all our customers in a few weeks. If you want to be an early adopter, please let us know. If you have an upcoming deployment or you're deploying even a few hundred seats, this will probably come in handy, and we're happy to provide you early access. A couple more features that are pretty exciting, right? So first one is a shadow feature. So this is a way to manage content at scale. This is available internally to Cloud Academy, but at some point we'll probably release it externally. So as you know, we have courses and quizzes that are lined up in our learning paths. And so when you get to hundreds of courses, tens of thousands of questions, it's just become really hard to manage this and to make sure that what is in a quiz is actually lined up with all the courses and labs that you've taken in that learning path. Okay, and so we started to automate that. So we have a machine learning tool that through natural language processing detect quiz questions that are not relevant to a course. So if anyone from our content team has put a question that is not relevant out of all the questions that we've ever put in quizzes, the content person is notified, and they can go in and make sure that correct that questions or verify if the question should be there. This has been very, very effective, and we've actually scaled it out to basically our entire content, and that's why it's very hard now to find out of the, I think we're tens of thousands, we're probably over 15,000 questions by now. It's very hard to find a question that's not perfectly lined up with a learning path. And it's just one of the ways where we try to make an effective use of a person's time and asking them things that are very highly relevant to what they just studied. And here, since that is an upcoming feature, which is, you could call it the inverse of the previous one. So we're able to find, to generate quizzes with artificial intelligence at this point. So our AI bot goes through a course, okay? And at different point in the course finds questions that are relevant to what the user just studied. And once they've done that, they can present those questions to the user. So instead of having 1 hour of course or like 2 or 3 courses and then a set of questions, we can verify that the user understood what they just studied very, very quickly. And answering question as you're studying also is proven to increase users' recall and ensure better understanding. If you think about your experience studying some technical book, most of the time you read a page and you think you understand it, and then you go, try it in the code and it doesn't work. So this is sort of like a way to let people learn at their own pace and make sure that they actually understand before they move on to something new.
Yeah, I was just speaking to one of our customers the other day, and he was telling me how this feature was going to really be a game changer for his team.
Yeah, this has also been one of our most requested feature, essentially moving questions in between courses and in between lectures. And so we're pretty excited to get this to market in the next few months.
Yeah, and something that is extremely important for us is your feedback, because we're always working to improve and offer the best possible experience on the Cloud Academy platform. But when you have feedback or anything that you'd like to share with us about the platform, just shoot us an email. Reach out to your customer success person, and let's start talking.
Yeah, we have a very well structured feedback system throughout the company, and so there are different ways you can reach out, and we usually act on the feedback very quickly. It's part of the value of our product, and it keeps us very, very close to the needs of both users and enterprise decision makers. And then one last feature which is upcoming. This is one of the most exciting ones. This is a completely different use case. Okay, so we're essentially introducing microlearning. As you know, we have a gigantic amount of knowledge that is, hidden within Cloud Academy. Okay, and we are building a new kind of search tool that basically will help users answer very high value question just as they need it. Okay, so instead of studying the entirety of a course, if you have a question like how do I put CloudFront in front of an S3 bucket, you can just ask that with almost natural language to the system, and the system will go and find how to do that inside our courses, our labs, our quizzes, and you'll be able to learn that in a few minutes and then turn around and apply that directly to your job. So I think that's pretty much it.
Awesome. So we can get to the questions. Many of you sent us your questions. So let's see where we want to start. Oh, this is a good one. John says, I'm a new customer. Is there a roadmap that I can follow to know what you're working on?
Yeah, if you're a new customer, you can reach out to your customer success person. Usually, we make a roadmap available under NDA. This is not the whole roadmap. What I showed here is just the most interesting feature. Um, but if you want to have the complete roadmap, we're really happy to share it.
Awesome. So moving on to the next one, we have Heather here asking, how can I make sure that my team keeps on coming back to the platform and using the product?
So basically, this comes down to deploying training plans well. Um, so training plans have a whole engine that essentially works behind the scene, and it's meant to um, keep people engaged with the product. Okay, so it starts from building a reasonable commitment with the manager and the individual. So you're asking them to work a certain amount of hours. Okay, and they're committing to getting you certain results, and then the performance of the team or how well they're doing on the training plan is actually visible to the manager, and so the manager can follow along and can intervene if someone is to complement people that are ahead or nudge people that are behind. uh, and this together with the automatic nudges, etc., just sets the training up for success. We have customers that unfortunately I can't name them, but have training plans deployed to thousands of people. Literally, they have something like 25, 30 themes and I think 1,100 licenses, and they do that over and over again for the organization, and it's been incredibly successful.
Okay, we have time for just a couple more questions. I know many of the questions that came in we already answered throughout the
Yep.
explanation, so we'll just get on to some other ones. We have Mark asking, you mentioned that training plans are effective in training people. Why is that?
I think it comes back to the answer I just gave. Training plans are built. Actually, maybe I'll tell you the problem that we had in the past. So before we built training plan, what would happen is that training would be just thrown overboard. So someone would invite everyone to this wonderful training platform, uh, and people were supposed to go into the training platform, understand what they really needed to study, and then study them. Okay, and there was no. What happens is daily priorities take over, and it's very difficult for like an individual to say, hey, I'm sorry, I can't really go to this meeting because I have to train for 3 hours, right? Well, training plans essentially build this very reasonable contract between the manager and the individual, and so the manager is forced to be realistic about how much time it's going to take, and the individual feels that they're empowered to actually learn new skills, and that those new skills are going to be visible to his manager. And I think that's sort of like what makes training plans effective. Yep.
We have one final question. What are the best practices for training plans?
Um, I think just that usually you can, our customer success team is pretty good at helping you with those, and they depend on really on your organization and their objectives. But I think in general it's just um, I would say the few things that we've learned are making sure that you have as many people as possible as early as possible on training plans. Okay. And setting aside time on people's calendar. So if you tell them that they need to study 3 hours a week, let's just make sure that they have that time available for them. And I think uh, you know finally for managers, just making sure that they look at the reminders and follow the training plan along and make people understand that it's an important thing. It's really simple. The platform really does most of the grunt work that you would have to do. You can think of that as like a, your external brain for upskilling your team. It's like a really good way to think about that.
All right, so that's all the time we have for questions today. We have a short survey coming your way, and we would really appreciate it if you could spare a couple of minutes to answer it. It's incredibly helpful to understand how to make the next webinar more valuable.
Yep.
So thank you everyone for joining us today, and thank you so much, Stefano, for this deep dive through the Cloud Academy platform.
My pleasure. Thank you, Francesca, and thank you everyone for spending their time with us.
Got it. So we will share the recording via email as soon as it is available. Have a couple of announcements to make. So before we let you get on with your day, if you want to know how we can help your business achieve its business and training goals, go to cloudacademy.com and request a demo. Also, if you head to our website, you'll find plenty of on-demand webinars that you can watch, and also a wide variety of interesting articles on our blog. Also, if you're going to any of the trade shows, we'll be at Microsoft Ignite in Orlando in November and at reInvent in Vegas in December. So if you're around for any of those two events, come to our booth, meet the team, and why not just do a live demo with us at the booth. We'll be at booth 1206 at reInvent, and we'll let you know the Ignite booth number as soon as it is available. Last announcement, on August 28th at 10 a.m. PT, we're hosting another webinar with our partners at Spotinst. Topic of the day, serverless containers, running Kubernetes workloads without managing infrastructure on any cloud. Again, thank you for joining us today. Until next time, goodbye.